The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I normally do some kind of little anecdote before we get to the video or the mail, but in this case, the mail I think is going to introduce a lot of anecdotes and silliness. So we'll just start with the mail and then we'll get into the silliness. So let's do it. Mail says, "Hey Perch, you give a lot of advice about a bunch of different topics, and we jokingly call you Dad Perch, mostly because you're old. Thank you for that, asshole. Okay." But I'm curious, what advice do you have for things outside of comics? Now that you're wrapping up the channel, curious to get all your little bits of wisdom, such as they are. Okay, what's with the shade here? Okay, such as they are. What kind of advice would you give somebody who is turning 21 and about to grow as old as you? Fine. Okay. All right. So we're just going to give some general basic advice. All right. I'm happy to do it. This is very much a channel is winding down, almost over the channel kind of video. So let's see what we got. If I was giving advice to people about things, and this is, not about comics, right? But this is a comic channel, so I will throw one thing in about comics. I'll do it right out the gate. Buy yourself some original art. So find an artist you like, as you're saving up some money and everything, just save your money and don't buy variant covers for a year. And just take that wad of cash and go buy yourself some original art. One piece, something from an artist you love. The very first piece of original art I bought, this is a true story, was from Art Adams. I bought a piece of original art from him a long time ago. And first of all, it was a great investment. When I say great investment, I don't mean like it's something that you can immediately like pawn off and sell at the stock market, although you could certainly put it in an auction, and chances are you will make money. So chances are that investment, you'll get a return on that. But I don't think anybody should buy original art. It's my perspective, as like they're playing the stock market. You shouldn't have that mentality going into it. You should just buy some original art because it looks really cool on your wall. It's a great talking piece, and when people come over, it's a cool thing to have. And it's not, usually will not depreciate. So it's just kind of it's a great talking piece, good piece of art, cool little thing to have on your wall. You get it nicely framed, and you never know where it will go. I have a lot of Art Adams original art now, so I spent way too much money over the years. Got some Walt Simonson, got some. I've got a bunch of I got some George Perez, which is really. I've just got a lot of good original art. And what's funny though is the art starts to give you a story, where you remember where you were when you bought it, or you remember the comic you read when you first read the comic that the art's from, or all that. You just get good memories. It's just something that pays you dividends just in the day in your life that I think is pretty powerful. So I recommend. There's my comic bit of advice. In terms of life, look, there's lots of good places to go to get good advice and everything else. I'll give you a couple pieces, just if you're curious. Number one, go get yourself a financial planner. I mentioned this in an interview with Sean Murphy, but get a financial planner. It's smart to do. It's usually cheap or free. If you're already a member at Costco or Sam's Club or anything else, you get kind of a free session every year of a financial planner. I believe they used to do that. I think they still do. If you have your money invested in like Charles Schwab or Place or wherever, a bunch of them will give you these things. But go talk to one, because they will kind of sort out where your money is going and how to handle it. And it's going to be better advice you're going to get online, and it's going to give you a sense of confidence about what you're making and what you're investing in. It's easy. And it's also one of those things that if that doesn't sound fun to you, it's even more important than you do it, because the best part about a financial planner are for the people who are, not good with their money, or don't really like to deal with their money. Those are the people who financial planners can benefit the most, because they're going to tell you really easy things. They're going to put you in a position, if you get just smart about what you make and everything else, where you have this wonderful point in your life where you spend money without thinking about where it's coming from. And even if you're making very little money right now today, try to do this. Try to go get that financial planner. They know people who are at the beginning of their money saving time, whether you're young or old, and they'll help you. And it's just one of those things that a lot of people go, I don't know, not for me. And that's just, you don't talk yourself out of it. It's a smart thing to do. Other bits of advice. Here's a good one I like to give people. If you have young kids or you're about to have young kids, there's this mentality, and I see it a lot in Texas. What's weird is, Texas, for all the comments about being a red state and everything else, if you live in the Dallas area, the people here are very superficial. I haven't seen so much plastic surgery than anywhere else I've lived as here. I've spent time in California. I would still say Dallas has more. There's just a lot of that kind of superficial things. And there's a lot of kind of keeping up with the Joneses behavior. So people go get a house and then they need to entertain in their house because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, you're supposed to entertain. And so they will overspend massively in their house. And look, whatever makes you happy, fine. But if you have young kids or you're going to have young kids, you are a fucking fool to put a bunch of money into furniture and fancy things in your home. Because number one, your kids don't care about that. And number two, they're going to destroy it. So it's a bad idea. I mean, in my house, I have a weird mix of pretty expensive furniture and cheap furniture. And what's happened is, over time, I've bought more cheap furniture because it's not worth it. It's not worth the destruction that the expensive furniture gets. And expensive furniture goes out of style and everything else. It's just not, it's a bad game. I have this glass kind of cabinet, and I think it's Norwegian or some kind of European. Like, I don't know what this thing cost. My wife bought it a long time ago, and it was, but I'm guessing it was at least like $12,000, this thing. Because it's like crystal, anyway, it's a very nice piece. It looks wonderful. But the problem is, like, if you look at this thing, you have these shelves on this cabinet. In the very, very top shelf, you have a bunch of Dave Chihuly kind of blow glass art, really, really nice, expensive, again, original pieces, great. And you go to the next level down, you have some kind of memorabilia that I picked up, throughout various travels. You got some stuff from Croatia, stuff from Italy, that little pieces there. And then the third shelf down, you got a bunch of slime that my kids have made, and like half finished pictures that they've colored, and some stuff they made in the 3D printer that like didn't turn out well. It's like weirdly half done blobby, and it's just sitting in there. And the next row down, you've got a bunch of balls, like rubber balls that they throw to the dog that for whatever reason my kids decide they want to make a display out of. And just the right answer, if you're being smart about it, is just buy furniture from IKEA or Amazon or whatever you got to do. Fill up your house while your kids are young, and then save the money that you're going to spend on really expensive pieces. And then when your kids get old and get the fuck out of the house, then you go and you've made interest on all that money. You go and buy those expensive pieces, and you have the palace you always wanted. But it's a waste of your time to buy this stuff initially. That's my advice to you. The same thing, by the way, is mostly true with cars. I don't know how many people I know who have they've gone out there and they bought the the expensive BMW car or whatever else they have. Then they have kids, and then there's nothing more pathetic than the person who's got the luxury car, and then they've got the child seat in the back, and they've got weird little cheese bits and crackers all over their back seat, because the kids don't give a damn about that, Italian upholstery, and they're just throwing their food everywhere. Live your life to make it easy. More advice. Okay, here's an advice for travel. If you're going to travel somewhere, and again, you've got kids, the right answer is to spend a little bit more money than you might be comfortable with, to make it easier on yourself, especially if you have kids. But this is really true whether you have kids or you don't. Here's a kind of example. If you're going to go to Disney World, and anyone who has kids, at some point you're going there, somebody's going to drag your ass down to Disney World. There is they'll rent strollers there in Disney, and you think to yourself, I'm not paying $20 a day for a stroller, but the very first day you're there and it's 90 degrees outside and you're dragging your kid around and you're having to carry them because they're asleep and everything else, you will wish you paid that $20 because, the kid is going to pass out at like 2 in the afternoon. You put them in the stroller, they go to sleep. You then wheel that stroller with your wife to the nearest bar. You drink margaritas for 2 hours until they wake up, and everybody is happier. That's how you do Disney. That's, in general, when you're traveling, there's just a lot of, I watch people, it's good to be frugal, but it's also important to recognize the moments that your life can just be way, way easier, and you will reduce a ton of stress and other nonsense. I'm not talking, by the way, about buying first class seats. I've watched people who will take a 2-hour plane flight, and then they'll pay $1,000 for first class, where the business seat is, I don't know, like 150. And that, on the other hand, is just, pissing your money away. Now, granted, that first class seat is going to be better, but domestic first class, I mean, yeah, it's kind of shitty. I think, international first class, no mistake about it. There's a definite class difference there, but domestic first class, no. Those seats just are slightly wider. The biggest benefit to that is you just get the hell off the plane, as fast as you can. But, things like, pre-buying a rental car, like I had a friend who had, it's always cheaper to get your rental car away from the airport. So they would fly into the airport, and then they would take a cab to the rental car place off the airport, and then they would save like $40 a day. But the problem is that you pay for the cab, and then half the time when they would get to the little rental car place, there were no cars available for them because, everybody moved the rental car to the airport. So it's just like, you're just screwing yourself at this point. You're just taking hours out of your time, especially if you're traveling overseas or you're doing some really big trip. You're saving up for that trip of the lifetime. Just either save a little bit more or go on the off season or something where you don't pay as much money. And then just don't screw around with I watch people take these flights where, on the return trip, they have to wake up at like 4 a.m. to get on the plane. And you're just pissed off at that point. You're wrecking your own trip. Just pay a little bit more, get out in the normal time frame, and don't try and say them things that are going to make you angry and pissy. That's kind of the key. And if you have a financial planner, you have the money to do these things. I don't know. Other bits of advice: don't marry too quick. It's a mistake. I mean, it's very easy to become enamored with someone, but a lot of people they get jumpy about it. And I know this advice exists everywhere, but it's weird everybody sees this and then they don't take that advice. People like to ignore this advice, but it's okay not to get married right away. It's very easy to say that as a married guy. If you're single, a lot of people are in a hurry to get married, but it's usually a bad plan. I mean, you just think about it. Getting comfortable with somebody, getting to that point where you're working it out, the two of you, is going to be way more fun than marrying really quickly and then deciding that the person you're with is a monster and you don't want to be with them anymore, and then you're having to figure out if you want to get a divorce or not. That's a terrible plan. Mrs. Perch is wonderful. I haven't had those thoughts. I have not gone into, if I'm being very vulnerable with all popular thing to say, is that I thought many times, I don't know why she's putting up with my shit. That's self-doubt, that imposter syndrome kind of stuff. I don't know why I'm doing that, but I've been lucky to, take my time in marrying her. We knew each other a long time ago back in high school, and then they got married much later. And it was better. It was just better to take that route. If you get into a relationship too quickly, it's usually just, I don't know, it never pays off. Okay, that's cliche advice. Everybody gives that advice. Let's see. We go back to something more unique. If you can get the advice somewhere else, I don't want to give it. Don't eat at Arby's; it'll kill you. Their food is poison. That's definitely good advice. Don't fly Spirit Air; they're going to kill you. That flight is awful. Let's see, what other stuff. I don't know. Look, I think maybe the biggest piece of advice is figure out what you honestly like. Figure out what you love, whether it's a person, whether it's comics, even if it's something that's kind of shameful. I have a friend who said the other day that they love Twitter. That is their favorite thing. They love going on there. They love typing everything else. They love it. And I think that's dumb as fuck. But okay, if you love Twitter, then spend time on Twitter. Then pay for Twitter Blue or whatever it is, like or X Blue. Um, just love what you love. I think you look. We'll bring this right back to comics, and then we'll wrap it up. I think if you, a lot of people are embarrassed about comics, or they're embarrassed about liking certain comics, and so they come up with all these kind of logistical gymnastics to explain why. I'm reading this, but I really don't like it and everything else. Like you've heard me bitch about the current Krakoa X-Men forever because I hate the current. I hate it. But if you like it, if you legitimately read these comics and you enjoy it, then just be happy. It doesn't matter what I think about it. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks about that. Enjoy it while it lasts, because a lot of this stuff doesn't last. If there's something you love, then just love it. And you don't need to apologize for it. You don't need to, you don't need to feel guilty about that. And you don't need to make excuses for it. You don't need to justify it. You get to love whatever it is you love. And again, no matter what it is, no matter who it is, just be happy with what you've got, because, everything is fleeting. Everything. We talked about kids earlier. Your kids are with you for, that was the expression Disney used to use, 18 summers. You get 18 summers with your kid. 18. And then they're gone. I mean, hopefully. I mean, maybe they're sticking around your house when they're 30. I don't know what's going on in your situation, but you have 18 summers and the kids are gone. So if you enjoy that time, then it doesn't really matter what's going on. It doesn't really matter if you're taking them to, rich exotic, you're taking them to Tahiti for a vacation, or if you enjoy playing darts down at a local bar. Hopefully you're not taking kids into a bar, but you know what I mean. Or, maybe you enjoy, shopping in New York and having those trips. Or maybe you enjoy, going to the toy aisle with your son in Walmart. If you enjoy that moment, that's all that matters, because that moment doesn't last. The kid grows up and becomes an asshole. So you need to enjoy it before that point. Here, I'll tell you a funny story. We'll end with this. I remember one of the things I liked to do when my daughter was young, when she was like 3, is I would take her to the zoo. And when we had our second child, my second daughter, my wife would, stay home with the baby, and I would take the 3-year-old girl out to the zoo. And so we would go, and she would get tired, so I'd carry her on my shoulders. So I'd carry her all around the zoo. And, she had the attention span of a 3-year-old, so that would fit mine, which was wonderful. So she'd look at the animals, point them out, and wave to them and other things. And then, round and round we'd go. And around this time, or, before that, we'd gone through potty training because, we want her to use a toilet, not the diaper and everything else. And so, as parents, if you never had kids, it'll sound weird, but you have kids, you're like, hey, good job, you peed in the toilet. We were very excited. And we were legitimately excited because it meant no more diapers, and it meant, no more peeing on the floor by accident. We were very happy about this. So I remember us carrying my kid around, and again, she's 3, and I go into the bathroom, and I'm just peeing. I go into the urinal, and I'm peeing, but she's still on my shoulders, which was weird, I grant you, but she's 3, and she can't see anything. She's just up there, and the bathroom was empty. And, then a couple people came in, they're washing hands. I finished peeing into the toilet. It's an embarrassing story, but it's still all the same. And I'm all done, and I flush it. And my 3-year-old daughter is sitting on my shoulder and goes, yay, Daddy, you did it. You peed in the potty. Yay. And she's clapping her hands. And every single guy in that bathroom just, I think, died laughing. There was people choking laughing at this thing. And I was embarrassed. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how embarrassing, But when I think about that moment now, it just gives me great happiness, because it was just this funny moment, innocent kind of kid-like silly stuff. No, she couldn't see down. She couldn't see what was going on. She just knew the toilet flushed. It'll be gross. But this is, you get these crazy, wacky moments in life, and there is a finite number of them. So when you have them, enjoy them. Don't feel guilty about them. Don't talk yourself out of enjoying them. And just have a good time. That's what life's all about. So that's my advice to you. And thanks for listening.